Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. Text number, without a purport, but we'll read it anyhow. Surinmitya udasina madhyasta dvesha bandishu sadushvapita papeshu samabudhira vishishate surinmitrar udasina madhyasta dvesha bandishu sadushvapita papeshu samabudhir vishishate Krimitya udasina Natadvesha bandishu sadushvapita papeshu samabudhir vishishate Surinmitya udasina madhyasta dvesha bandishu sadushvapita papeshu samabudhir vishishate. Jenske. Surinmitya udasina madhyasta dvesha bandishu sadushvapita papeshu samabudhir vishishate. Surit, to well-wishers by nature. Mitra, benefactors with affection. Ari, enemies. Udasina, neutrals towards belligerents. Madhyasta, mediators between belligerents. Dvesha, the envious. Bandushu, and the relatives or well-wishers. Sadhushu, unto the pious. Api, as well as. Cha, and. Papeshu, unto the sinners. Samabudhi, having equal intelligence. Vishishate is far advanced. Translation with no purport. Person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, and the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatunde Ve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Siddharne. This is one of the most common themes in the Bhagavad Gita, equanimity of mind. Due to vision, not simply due to theoretical understanding, although theoretical understanding can help us achieve realization, but it's not based upon simply intellectual understanding. In the 18th chapter, Krishna goes through the modes of nature and basically speaking how come to the platform of having intelligence in the mode of goodness, having determination in the mode of goodness, having knowledge in the mode of goodness, work in the mode of goodness, the worker in the mode of goodness, everything in the mode of goodness, and then one can be detached from material desires. And one can sit, Buddhya Vishuddhya Yukto, Jitatmana Niyamyacha, Shabdadin Vishayan Tyaktva, Ragadvesha Vyudasyacha, Vivekta Desha Lagvasi, Yatavat Kaya Manasa, Dhyana Yoga Paro Nityam, Vairagya Samupashitya, Ahankara Balam Darpam, Kamakroda Parigraham, Vimucham Virama Shanto, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. So you just have to do that as preliminarily, whatever that means. Well, what it means is Vishuddhya, Buddhya Vishuddhya Yukto, being purified by one's intelligence, controlling the mind with determination, one who gives up, Buddhya Vishuddhya Yukto, Jitatmana Niyamyacha, Shabda Din Vishya, who gives up the objects of the senses. Basically, one who's in trance, free from lust, anger, envy, and all the different types of material consciousness. Buddhya Vishuddhya. That's the preliminary. Being purified by his intelligence, controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being free from attachment and aversion, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship, and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. Few things we have to do. Then it's all these other verses will make sense. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmaniga Vihastini Shuni Chaiva Swapake Cha Pandita Samadarshana. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with an equal vision the learned and gentle Brahman, the cow, the elephant, the dog, and the dog eater. And it is repeated, Samam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Tishtantam Parameshwaram Vinasyava Vinashantam Yakpashati Sapashati. One who can see the super soul accompanying all souls and all bodies, and who knows that neither the soul nor the super soul within the indestructible body is destroyed, they actually see. Samam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Tishtantam Parameshwaram. Let's see, there's not. It's only the first one. Let's see. This is 13th chapter. Samam Pashani Sarvatra, Samavastitim Ishwaram, Nihinastyatmanatmanam Tatoyati Paramgatim. Ita Sarvagatam So. Samam Sarveshu Bhute, yeah, we got that one. Samam Pashani Sarvatra, Samavastitim Ishwaram, Nihinastyatmanatmanam Tatoyati Paramgatim. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere, and every living being does not degrade himself by his mind, thus he approaches the transcendental destination. So there's different ways of looking at people. One is we can look at them as what they can give me and what they're going to take away from me. Now here, no one can give us much because they don't have much to give. They may give us a samosa once in a while, but you could probably steal one anyhow. But false prestige, that's also a commodity. Profit, adoration, distinction, these are also commodities. Oh, you're so wonderful. Oh yeah, thank you very much. So, the demigods, they eat yagya, they eat performance, they just eat a little bit of, offering. That's what they survive. Some people can survive on false prestige for some time too. Adoration, profit, adoration, distinction. Or as they say, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names get to me after a while. That's an American expression. Actually, this expression is, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names can never harm me. But we take these things seriously sometimes, people. So the point is, we see people in relationship to their activities externally. Either they're my friends, or they're my enemies, or there's a whole variety of different possibilities given here. Srin mityahu dasinamajastu veshu bandishu sadushvapi papeshu samabudir pashishate. Even different types of bandhus. There's mitra, there's bandhu, there's different kinds of friends even. Usually friends are people who loan me money. If they won't loan me any money, they're definitely not on my list of friends. And my friends are the ones who, when I loan them money, they pay me back, or else they go into my enemy list. In the Western world, there's not all this variety of friendship, and either you hate the person, or you're neutral, or if they can help you out, you put them in the friendship category. Love is reserved to the dog and a few other people. Real friendship. Man's best friend, the dog. If you go outside during this coronavirus and walk around, you'll definitely see people take they go for walks for two reasons: for their dog or their children. But along with their children, there's always a dog. Now, the way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told us to see people is Yari Deka Tarikaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Agaya Gurhana Tari Desh. That whoever we meet, actually it says Yari Deka, whoever we see, Yari Deka Tarikaha, when we speak, we should speak Krishna Upadesh, things to help people become Krishna conscious. Amara Agaya Guruhana Tari Desh. And that way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted everyone to become guru and to help bring people back to the spiritual world. So that's how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees people. He even saw the tigers in the Jharikanda forest. He sees all living entities as that, as objects to awaken their Krishna consciousness. Now, if we only see people in relationship to friends and enemies, or the other things that are mentioned here, and we don't see the potential, at least of some people, to become Krishna conscious, to awaken the soul from his dreaming state, then we're not seeing things properly. It is not that we are supposed to artificially see everyone with a halo around their head, and that the tiger is actually inside the tiger, there's a pure devotee, and therefore I should embrace the tiger as Krishna's eternal servant. Oh, tiger, I'm so sorry. I thought you were just a tiger, but now I see the soul. Let me kiss you. No, we have to see the tiger or else we're blind, because in this material world, everything has its modes of nature. Now you come to the level of Morari Chaitanya Das, when you actually don't see the tiger anymore, you see the soul, and when the tiger sees you, he doesn't see the potential meal. That one is so overwhelmingly affectionate that even the tiger's Krishna consciousness is awakened. So Morari Chaitanya could go into the forest, and he found the tiger, he'd slap its face. And the tiger would go, do it again. He'd put venomous snakes on his lap and play around with them. Now you can try that after you chant a number of rounds. You feel really good. I feel empowered. Oh, just have some snake venom available. Real quick. Ah, you stupid snake. I'll show you love of God. But Roy Chaitanya was so oblivious, so I guess the easier thing, he was so oblivious to his body, which is like wood to him, that he'd go into water for 3 days at a time, chanting Hare Krishna. Now, I think before you slap a tiger or play around with a cobra Try going underneath the water for a few days. Get prepared. If you go over 10 minutes, and that's a start. See if you can go for 20 after some time. Work your way up to 3 days before you start slapping tigers. But they were so much absorbed in love of God that they were oblivious. They were on a completely different platform of experience. So when they saw the tiger or the snake, they didn't see just the tiger or the snake. They saw within there, it was Krishna and the soul. And the power of their love for Krishna, Krishna told the soul within the body, don't harm them. Therefore it says in the purport to the verse 16:1-3, Prabhupada writes, Abhayam sattva samshudira jnana yoga vyavyastiti. For the qualities of a sannyasi, Abhayam sattva samshudira jnana yoga vyavyastiti. Dhanam dhamma sajagnascha swadhyaya tapa arjavam. So this is a preliminary for this divine ashram system. So it starts, we have to see where we are on that continuum. It starts with, not with abhayam, with fearlessness and purification of one's existence. It starts with swadhyaya, which is primarily what we're trying to engage here. Swadhyaya, just like this chapter is called dhyaya, contemplation, meditation. So swadhyaya, in the beginning we have to find out who we are. We contemplate who we are, study. We study who we are. So that's the beginning. Get some theoretical knowledge so we can remember it. And then after remembering it, we can actually see it, what's being talked about, and then we can see how to apply it in the realm of relationships. The spiritual world is just about relationships. There's nothing else going on there. Even in this world, there's nothing but relationships, actually, but people tend to become impersonal, and therefore the relationships tend to become impersonal also, which is called Maya. In any case, we study the knowledge so we can see, so we can develop better relationships. And if we can't develop completely pure spiritual relationships, then we get married, and we try to develop a relationship in terms of family life, where there is restricted sense gratification, because that's really the main energy that distorts relationships, is lust, anger, and greed, as explained here. That it's not that lust, anger, and greed are the basis of relationships, they're actually the energies that destroy the relationship, or at least distort it. Just like we've heard that during this coronavirus, people are staying at home and they finally get to know each other. And therefore there's so much domestic violence. I didn't know I married you. My God, what a mistake. Who are you anyhow? You're a monster. What lagoon did you crawl out of? Well, you're not the Easter Bunny either. So people are sometimes disappointed when they're out working or whatever they're doing. They don't notice it because the husband comes back late from work sometimes and sits down at the table after his wife and children have taken the food. He gets the remnants. He sits down, he can hardly speak. He's so tired. Takes some beer and watches some football game and falls asleep on the couch. And the only one who actually knows he's home is his dog, because he wants to go out for a walk. So people are not used to staying at home, and they're not used to developing relationships based upon anything but sense gratification. And I imagine when someone's not making any money, the wife and children become very disturbed. That you're maybe when you're 80 years old, you're useless, but you're only 20, you're useless already. So one has to see things at the beginning. There's svadhyaya, study who we are, and then we can understand what our relationships with others should be. And if we can't understand it perfectly, then we become a householder. We try to practice with our wife and children and our husband. They try to practice devotional service where there's a limited amount of sense gratification allowed, restricted, at the same time an opportunity to change our vision by practicing devotional service together. And that devotional service is based upon yajna, dana, and dhammas. Restricted sense gratification produce children, dana, dhammas. Dana, giving in charity. Not that everything belongs to my family. We should give things as Krishna would like us to. And at the same time, there's yajna, that my life should be a sacrifice for my family and for the mission of Krishna consciousness, spiritual life. So therefore, Prabhupada said the family should sit down morning and evening and chant Hare Krishna together, offer food to the deities, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Then the family life becomes spiritual. Previously, people used to be half civilized, because at least they go to church or the temple or the synagogue at least one day a week. So they after a week of disputes and trying to gratify their senses, they'd hear some spiritual message one day, go and get purified, ask for purification, absolve them of their sins, confession, and then they go back the next day and start sinning again. But at least, they had some sense of spiritual life, and they went together to the church or the temple with their family. They had some sense of family life. The family would usually take dinner together. They'd say some prayer to Jesus or something, offering their food. So there was some sense of God consciousness. And when that disappeared, then practically human civilization is disappearing. So there's actually family life where sacrifice, especially hearing and chanting about Krishna, worshiping Krishna together, controlling the senses, restricted sense gratification, and giving in charity. Then when one is sufficiently trained, then when one is actually practicing meditation on Krishna, one can further that meditation by practicing tapasya at vanaprastha stage. I put a little challenges to the meditation by going out and practicing some austerities, deeper austerities than we practice in household life. Stop sense gratification and practice austerity. Not to stop eating entirely, but they go into the forest and they eat fruits or roots, whatever was available. Generally it was practiced in India, so you didn't go in the forest during winter and you froze to death. It was moderate climate the whole year around, although there was some element of austerity, rainy season, whatever. But generally speaking, the mendicants didn't freeze to death. They had to bring an electric heater for them in the forest. And then after practicing austerity and deepening one's meditation on Krishna, one would actually begin to develop the qualities of fearlessness. Knowing that even if they went to the forest, even if they were alone in the forest, even if their wife went back to live with their children, still Krishna is in the heart and he would protect them based upon actual experience of relying upon Krishna. And they were actually purified in heart so that they were able to meditate upon Krishna. And at the same time, they had sufficient understanding of everyone and everything in relation to Krishna that they were undisturbed in their meditation. So that's sannyas. That's what sannyas is supposed to be. And there are different stages of sannyas: Bohudak, Kutachak, Parabhajakacharya, and finally Paramahansa. So by Parabhajakacharya, then you go and preach, tell people about Krishna, and that's what we're all supposed to be working on. In other words, maybe we haven't completely studied ourselves and become convinced that I'm the servant of Krishna. Maybe everyone we look at is not exactly, we don't see the soul and the super soul, waves to the super soul. Hi. Hey, you got 4 hands. That's how come you got concha, wheel, and club, and lotus flower in that hand, and he has a different arrangement? Are you doing some jugglery act? No, you actually see, and then they'd be able to relate to people. Their lives would be meant for dana. They'd control their senses, theoretically, and they'd have, their life would be charity, giving the holy name, the dati pratigrinati, the loving exchanges, and they'd be tolerant. So we're supposed to be on that platform already. Even the ladies, although they're not officially given sannyas, but they're supposed to be acting in devotional service, fearless, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge. We're supposed to be acting on the spiritual platform, which sannyas is the preliminary stage, at least the beginning of sannyas. And with Parabhajakacharya preaching mission, then everyone can rise up to the platform becoming a Paramahansa. That is one who's always in trance meditating upon Krishna. But we're approaching it from the platform, not necessarily that we were already perfect in life. We already passed through all the stages of anashram, as it says in that, what is that verse? Aho bhata swapacho to karyan jiva grave artate nama tu abhyam. That it's wonderful how that anyone, even a dog eater, if they're chanting the holy name, it's understood, tapus tapas shasna ayra, that they've developed all the good qualities of the Aryans. They've actually bathed in all the sacred rivers. They've undergone the austerities of brahmachari life, that they've surpassed everything. So that doesn't mean we're in that category. That means that we, somehow or another, by good fortune, we have the opportunity to learn how to chant the holy name by this process. And part of it is to make the atmosphere spiritual. In other words, unless we become expert at making our own atmosphere spiritual and just trying to make wherever we go the atmosphere spiritual, then it's very difficult to actually chant the holy name with feeling. If somehow or another we're trying to make an arrangements for something other than spiritual, then it'll be very difficult for us to chant the holy name with some feeling. And in that way, we're trying to love Krishna, learn how to serve the devotees properly through the instructions of the higher devotees, help the innocent, and become detached from materialistic association, or material conceptions especially. Then we can actually begin to see everyone equally. Everyone equally has the potential to serve Krishna, no matter what their current situation is. And Prabhupada, he demonstrated that because he went around the world in so many different situations, so many different mentalities, so many different states of materialistic attachments and materialistic consciousness. And he was able to get so many varieties of devotees all around the world to chant Hare Krishna and to take up spiritual life. So that's proof that how Prabhupada saw everyone equally, because he was able to bring people equally to a certain extent. It's not that it's so easy, but at least he started the process for many souls to start the process, no matter what their previous situation was. As one devotee, one reporter asked Prabhupada, "Can you show us a mystic power?" And Prabhupada pointed out his disciples and said, "This is my mystic power." Previously, they were drug-addicted hippies, and now they're addicted to love of God. They're mad after God. So that's my mystic power, which is real mystic power. Everything else is useless. Ultimately, that's the only useful mystic power. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? And that's the mystic power that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is offering all of us also. That most important mystic power. If we, as much as we want to take it up or accept it, the Chaitanya Krishna Shakti Vinanaya Tara Pravartana. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will empower anyone who takes up the process and tries to give it to others. Yes.
Among those 26 qualities in chapter 16 that you mentioned, and you have delineated how they belong to different ashramas according to Srila Prabhupada's purport. So, as devotees, are we supposed to work on these qualities in some sequence? Do we practice these qualities purposefully, that I need to work on this one or on that one?
Yeah, of course we have to do that. Just like here, we're hearing about Krishna. It's not a good time to play with the children or anything, even if it's with Krishna games. So, there's, according to whether we're brahmachari, grihastha, or vanaprastha, there's an emphasis upon certain, or a sannyasi. There's an emphasis in cultivation. But of course, we're not working on the varnashram system. We're supposed to have already surpassed that. But we're using the varnashram system to help us cultivate Krishna consciousness. So we accept parts of it. And so therefore Prabhupada says grihastha, their main emphasis should be, when they're not in the temple, then they should make their house into a temple. But it's the same process. The temple worship is even there for the sannyasis. Right now we're not going to have vanaprasthas living in the forest because some hunter will come along and shoot them. At least in America. There are hardly any forests. Just living in the forest, and there'll be some developer coming along, throwing them out of the forest because they're going to build some houses there. But our process is basically chant Hare Krishna. Try to chant purely and try to create the atmosphere in our own lives. For instance, if you're a householder, take out the television. If you're to accept things which are favorable, try to give up the things which are unfavorable. Try to rely upon Krishna to some extent. Feel that Krishna will maintain us, He'll protect us, have no interest besides Krishna's interest, and always feel meek and humble. So we practice devotional service, try to cultivate those surrenders, which is above, really, varnashram. It's all directly related to Krishna, which is the goal of varnashram. Iti guya. Yomam evam asamudo, janati purushottama, sasarvavit vajante mam, sarvabhavena bharata. That anyone who knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, is said to be the knower of everything, and therefore he engages in full devotional service. Iti goyatama shastram, itam yuktva mayanaga, etad bhutva buddhimatsyat, krita kritasya bharata. This is the most confidential part of all Vedic knowledge, O sinless one. Whoever knows this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So that's our main emphasis. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. Yes?
Among qualities, and also as described in this verse, there is neutrality to enemies or equal vision, and as preachers we are supposed to practice the madhyam bhakta behavior, and there is upeksha toward the demoniac or envious. So how can we develop this neutrality to some outrageous, how not to feel angry at some outrageous things people do, especially some influential people, powerful people are promoting something outrageous. How can we stay neutral in our heart? Not hating, not being angry at demoniac.
What good is your anger? What do you accomplish by it in Krishna service? If you can accomplish something, by your anger you can burn to ashes some demoniac politician or something, then maybe it has some value. Probably not very much. But what is the value? In other words, if you can do something for Krishna service with that anger, just like Arjuna, Krishna told Arjuna, go and kill all these warriors. Then he did it. It was practical, it was useful. Similarly, Hanuman burned to ashes the city of Lanka. It was useful. But if our anger is not useful, Krishna service, then we should give it up and do something more useful. Otherwise, it's another impediment for our advancement in devotional service. Therefore, there's austerity of the mind also. Manak prasada somya tvam monam atma vinigraha bhava samshidi yetad tamo manasam uchate. So we also have to practice that, purification of the existence, manak prasada, satisfaction, equanimity, etc. Otherwise, it's sense gratification. I'm so good, I'm so pure, I'm so righteous, I should hate this person just to prove how pure and righteous I am. It's a type of sense gratification. Yes?
Hare Krishna, I want to know how to develop tolerance, how to be more tolerant.
Think of Krishna. Before you scream at something, hold your breath and think about Krishna. Or think about Nrsimhadev. What else can we do? I mean, if we try to become tolerant, we'll just explode after some time. So we have to change our consciousness. We have to think about Krishna. We have to see things, at least philosophically. Why am I in this situation? Why am I, have I actually been put into an unfair situation? Am I actually a victim? Do I actually deserve to shout and scream and complain or whatever else? Or should I just tolerate? So we have to think about these things and ask Krishna. Because, if someone sticks a knife in your back, you say, well, maybe I should be tolerant. And, because it's not your back, it's Krishna's back. So you may have to defend Krishna's back. Or take the knife out at least. Oh, I should tolerate it. This is a great opportunity to learn tolerance. Could you stick another one in? No, we have to be intelligent. What we should tolerate, what we should not tolerate. Just like if it's cold outside, we shouldn't go out, in our underwear trying to learn tolerance. We have to take care of Krishna's body. So we have to know with intelligence what we should tolerate, what we should not tolerate. If someone walks down the street when we're distributing book and says, get a job, and we jump on them and hit them with a book 3 times, we should tolerate that. Other things we should not tolerate. We have to know what we should tolerate and what we should not. All right, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.